Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's podcast. Today is Monday, August 11th, 2014. And on today's podcast, we finish our discussion of the relationship between the United States and Israel with a look at what the Constitution Party platform says about the relationship as well. As of the time of the preparation of this podcast, Israel has accepted another Egyptian proposal for a new 72-hour ceasefire with Hamas. This ceasefire may hold, but it may not. All the talk of peace is just that, words spoken and forgotten. Like the moral dilemmas that we see in this war, one is saddened by the loss of life, especially the innocent children of Gaza. But one knows that Hamas planned it that way, sacrificing its children by placing rockets and bomb supplies in close proximity, sacrificing them to build the tunnels under Israel, sacrificing them to make the Israelis appear to be monsters in the court of world opinion. In the meantime, the split between the United States and Israel is apparently quite real. According to journalist Jeff Steinberg of Executive Intelligence Review, the rift is real and growing. Quote, "So on the one hand, there's a growing rift and the personal rift between President Obama and Secretary of State John Kerry on the one side and Prime Minister Netanyahu on the other is growing deeper and more personal. However, at the same time, the United States just last week delivered a significant amount of new weapons to Israel for free." End quote. That is the paradox, isn't it? Every president thinks the Israelis should obey him, or at least think like he does. But they will not. And they spy on the United States and steal military secrets. But the United States gives them money and weapons anyway, always for free. In any event, President Obama seems to have a new plan for Israel and Gaza, in which Fatah, the Palestinian organization in the West Bank, would disarm Hamas and open the borders, and Israel would then lift the blockade for the free flow of people and material into and out of Gaza. This infuriates the Israelis because they know in their hearts that Fatah and Hamas are united, one and the same. All the president's proposal does for them is embarrass them while relieving a little of his own embarrassment. So U.S. presidents think because they pour free money and free weapons into Israel, prime ministers should do their bidding. And prime ministers think they should always be trusted and supported no matter what. But it doesn't matter. Since their lobby controls Congress, they get the money anyway. So what does the Constitution Party platform say about this relationship? Well, it doesn't. Not specifically Israel anyway. But it does address defense and foreign policy as well as subheadings under these titles. Under the heading of defense, for example, quote, "We condemn the presidential assumption of authority to deploy American troops into combat without a declaration of war by Congress pursuant to Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution." Under the same plank, quote, "We should be the friend of liberty everywhere, but the guarantor and provisioner of ours alone," end quote. Later in that plank, there is a statement that defense expenditures should be carefully reviewed to eliminate foreign aid. The foreign policy plank, under the subheading of national sovereignty, quote, "The U.S. is a properly free and sovereign republic which should strive to live in peace with all nations, without interfering in their internal affairs and without permitting their interference in ours. We are therefore unalterably opposed to entangling alliances, be it treaties, or any other form of commitment which compromise our national sovereignty or commit us to intervention in foreign wars," end quote. Finally, quote, "We propose that the United States cease financing or arming of belligerents in the world's troubled areas, and also no further funds be appropriated for any kind of foreign aid program," end quote. Well, that's pretty clear, isn't it? But keep in mind that the Constitution Party platform has an avenue for change. If you are a party member or thought about becoming one and you don't like these provisions, you can come to the 2016 National Convention as a delegate member of the Platform Committee and lobby the committee and the convention to insert the words, "except for Israel," in each of these sections. The Constitution Party has always felt that taking part in other people's disputes would be a bad idea. It leads to conflict and makes enemies who then have to be fought. It unreasonably emboldens friends who assume the full weight of the United States is behind them. That is the end of this series. Join me on Wednesday, August 13th, when I'll talk about a new war the U.S. has just taken sides in. Until then, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.